Hi, and welcome to Voyager's Introduction to AI in Education. Over the last few years, tools like ChatGPT have started showing up everywhere, in classrooms, in lesson planning, in student assignments. Some teachers are excited about it, some are skeptical, and most are somewhere in the middle. And honestly, that's exactly where you should be. AI is a powerful tool. It's also new, confusing, and sometimes a little intimidating. The goal of this course isn't to turn you into an AI expert. It's simply to help you understand what these tools are, what they're good at, and how they can support the work you're already doing as an educator. Voyager was created by educators and technologists who believe that teachers should feel empowered by AI, not overwhelmed by it. We focus on practical use, real classrooms, and real teaching challenges. Our goal isn't just to introduce new tools. It's to help educators build confidence, experiment safely, and discover ways AI can save time, spark creativity, and support student learning. You don't need to be a tech expert to start exploring these tools. You just need curiosity and a willingness to experiment. Let's look at a quick example.
You can simply open the browser and start up here, chatgpt.com. When people get started with ChatGPT, they often think about it and use it as they would Google. But I'm here to show you that it's a lot more powerful than that. Plan a 3-day trip to Paris. And just like that, it starts planning our day. Not only does it give you information, but it also is interactive, unlike Google. Where can we stay? Can you help me make a reservation? And just like that, I'm on my way to setting up an excellent trip to Paris.
In this course, we'll walk you through the essentials of AI in education. You'll learn what generative AI actually is, how tools like ChatGPT work on a high level, how teachers are using AI in real classrooms, some important ethical questions to consider, and how to start experimenting with AI in your own teaching practice. You don't need to master everything all at once. Think of this course as a starting point of a journey, a chance to explore, ask questions, and begin thinking about how these tools might fit into your classroom. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to Module 2. Before we talk about how AI can help in the classroom, it's helpful to understand what these tools actually are. Tools like ChatGPT belong to a category called generative AI. Traditional software usually retrieves information or follows a fixed set of rules, but generative AI does something different. It can create new content. You can ask it to write text, explain a concept, generate images, draft code, or help brainstorm ideas. It's less like a search engine and more like a collaborative writing partner or brainstorming assistant. Of course, like any collaborator, it's helpful when you understand how it works. It's helpful to know a few basic terms. Let's quickly unpack a few terms you'll often hear when people talk about AI. Artificial intelligence is the broad umbrella term. It refers to computer systems that can perform tasks that usually require human intelligence, like recognizing patterns, making predictions, or generating new content. Machine learning is a subset of AI, and it describes one of the many ways AI systems improve. Instead of being programmed with fixed rules, the system learns through patterns from large amounts of data. Large language models, or LLMs, are a type of AI that powers tools like ChatGPT. These models are trained on massive collections of text data so they can understand and generate language that sounds natural. And finally, there's data. Data is the foundation of everything AI does. The patterns these systems learn all come from the information they were trained on. In the case of ChatGPT and many LLMs, that's the billions and billions of words and sentences scraped from all over the internet. At its core, tools like ChatGPT are prediction engines. When you type in a prompt, the AI analyzes the words you write and predicts what words are most likely to come next. Then it continues predicting the next word, and the next word, and the next word, building a response one piece at a time. This might sound simple, but because the system has been trained on enormous amounts of text, those predictions can produce explanations, stories, lesson plans, or conversations that really sound surprisingly human. But there's an important implication here. Because AI is predicting patterns, it doesn't actually know things the way humans do. And that leads to some common misconceptions. To use AI well, it helps to understand what it can do and what it can't do. So let's clear up a few common myths. Myth number 1, AI knows everything. In reality, AI predicts responses based on patterns and data. It can produce very convincing answers, but that doesn't mean those answers are always correct. Myth number 2, you need to be a tech expert to use AI. The most important skill is encoding. It's asking thoughtful questions and experimenting with prompts. Myth number 3, AI will replace teachers. In practice, what we're seeing is the opposite. Teachers who use AI effectively often gain more time for the parts of teaching that matter most, connecting with students, guiding discussions, and supporting learning. Ultimately, AI works best when it supports human expertise, not when it tries to replace it. In this model, we laid the foundation of what generative AI is and how it works at a high level. You've seen that these tools are built on pattern recognition, large data sets, and language prediction. That's what allows them to generate new ideas, explanations, and content. But the real power of AI shows up when teachers start applying it in practical ways. In the next module, we'll explore some real classroom use cases and how educators are already using AI to save time, spark creativity, and support student learning. Hi, and welcome to Module 3, AI in the Classroom. Now that we have a basic understanding of what generative AI is, the next question is the one teachers care most about. How can this actually help me in the classroom? The good news is that AI can support teaching in both big and small ways. In this module, we'll look at a few practical examples that teachers are already using to lighten their workload, spark creativity, and give them more time to focus on what matters most, working with students. Many teachers first experiment with AI by asking it simple questions or generating quick explanations. But once you become more comfortable with it, the possibilities expand quickly. For example, many educators are using AI to automate routine administrative work. You can draft emails to parents, summarize meeting notes, or organize feedback from parent-teacher conferences. Tasks that might normally take a morning or afternoon to do can be accomplished in just minutes. Teachers are also using AI to build personalized assignments. Instead of creating a single worksheet for the entire class, you can quickly generate differentiated materials tailored to different reading levels, learning styles, or student interests. And last, we have helping with lesson planning. This is where AI often becomes a true creative partner. Let's look at how this might work. Imagine you're planning a lesson on the water cycle for 5th graders. You might start with a learning objective like, students will be able to identify and explain the stages of the water cycle. At this stage, AI can be incredibly helpful for divergent thinking. In other words, generating a wide range of ideas. You might ask ChatGPT, give me 10 creative ways to teach the water cycle to 5th graders, or suggest project-based learning activities that explore the water cycle through science, art, and writing. Within seconds, you'll have a list of ideas you might not have thought of on your own. But brainstorming is only the first step. Next comes the convergent thinking. This is where you narrow down possibilities. You might follow up with prompts like turn that idea into a 45-minute lesson plan or adapt this activity for students reading below grade level. By starting with a learning goal, using divergent thinking to expand options, and convergent thinking to refine, AI can help you move from a blank page to a structured lesson much more quickly. What we covered here is just a small sample of what teachers are beginning to do with AI. Across schools today, educators are experimenting with everything from AI-assisted tutoring to gamified learning activities. Students are even beginning to build simple apps and interactive projects using text-to-code tools. These ideas might sound futuristic, but they're already happening in real classrooms. As you continue learning and exploring AI, remember the goal isn't to use it for everything. It's to find the moments where it helps you save time and enhance learning outcomes. When educators approach these tools with curiosity and intention, AI becomes something powerful, a partner that supports great teaching rather than replacing it. Hi, and welcome to Module 4, AI Ethics and Academic Integrity. As AI tools become more common in classrooms, it's important to think not just how to use them, but how to use them responsibly. Like any powerful technology, AI comes with both opportunities and challenges. For educators, ethical use of AI usually centers around a few key questions. How do we protect student privacy? How do we prevent misuse or over-reliance on the technology? And how do we maintain fairness and trust in the learning environment? These are the kinds of questions schools are beginning to explore as AI becomes a part of everyday teaching and learning. While most teachers are well equipped and understand what it means to be a good digital citizen through their experiences with the internet and social media, AI comes with a few unique challenges. One is bias. AI systems learn from enormous datasets created by humans: books, articles, websites, and online conversations. Oftentimes, biases in the training data can propagate into the outputs. For example, an AI image generator might consistently depict CEOs as a white man in a business suit, even when no gender or background was specified. Or a history explanation might focus heavily on Western perspectives while overlooking voices from other parts of the world. This is one reason why it's important to treat AI responses as starting points, not final answers. Another limitation is something called hallucination. This is when AI generates information that sounds confident and convincing, but is actually just incorrect. For example, it might invent a statistic, cite a book that doesn't exist, or provide a plausible explanation that turns out to be wrong. That's why an important skill when using AI is verification. As educators, we can model this process by checking sources, asking follow-up questions, and encouraging students to approach AI responses with curiosity and critical thinking. One of the biggest concerns teachers raise about AI is academic integrity. If students can generate essays or answers instantly, how do we ensure that learning is still happening? There's no single solution, but many educators are finding success with a student-centered approach. Instead of focusing on detection tools, which are often unreliable, it can be helpful to focus on conversations and clear expectations. First, recognize the signs. Pay attention to unusual patterns in a student's work. A sudden change in tone, vocabulary, or structure can sometimes signal outside assistance. If something feels off, the next step is to ask questions about the student's process. How did you approach this assignment, and what tools did you use while working on it? These conversations are most effective when they're approached with curiosity rather than accusation. If it becomes clear that AI was misused, it's important to understand the why. Was the student confused, overwhelmed, unsure of what was allowed? From there, you can work with the student to create a plan to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen again. Of course, if you do see patterns of continued misuse, it can be important to elevate to necessary channels. To wrap up, AI has the potential to support powerful learning experiences, but like any tool, it needs to be used thoughtfully. Ethical AI use isn't only about rules or restrictions, it's about helping students develop responsible habits and critical thinking skills. When educators model careful use, ask thoughtful questions, and encourage students to verify information, they help create a classroom culture where technology supports learning rather than shortcuts it. Hi, and welcome to Module 5, Measuring Outcomes and Promoting a Culture of Innovation. As schools begin experimenting with AI, one important question naturally follows. How do we know if it's actually working? Successful technology adoption doesn't happen by accident. It happens when schools take time to reflect on what's working, what isn't, and where adjustments might be needed. That means setting clear goals, paying attention to outcomes, and creating an environment where teachers feel comfortable experimenting and sharing what they learn. AI integration works best when it becomes a part of a culture of continuous improvement. One way schools can track progress is by identifying a few simple key performance indicators, or KPIs. These don't need to be complicated. The goal is simply to help schools understand how AI is being used and whether it's making a difference. One example is adoption. How many teachers or students are actively experimenting with approved AI tools? Even a small group of early adopters can be a strong sign that momentum is building. Another important measure is impact. Are teachers saving time on routine tasks? Are students more engaged in certain activities? Are new types of learning experiences becoming possible? And finally, schools may want to track ethical use. This could include monitoring incidents related to plagiarism or misuse of AI tools. These indicators can help schools move beyond guesswork and make informed decisions about how AI fits into teaching and learning. When thinking about implementing KPIs into your school's AI strategy, it can be useful to use the plan, do, check, act cycle to ensure that you're continuously monitoring and improving on your key performance indicators. Numbers can tell a part of the story, but feedback is just, if not more important. One of the best ways to improve AI use in schools is by creating simple feedback loops. This might include gathering input from teachers and students, holding occasional reflection sessions, or inviting educators to share what they've been trying in their classrooms. When teachers share ideas and experiences, innovation spreads naturally. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from small experiments. A teacher who finds a better way to generate discussion questions, a class that uses AI to explore a topic in a creative way. Sharing those stories helps build confidence and momentum across the school. Looking ahead, AI in education is still evolving, and schools are learning together as these tools develop. By combining clear goals, open feedback, and a spirit of experimentation, schools can ensure that AI becomes a meaningful support for teaching and learning. Before we wrap up, let's quickly reflect on what we explored in this course. We started by looking at what generative AI is and how tools like ChatGPT differ from traditional search engines or education software. From there, we explored practical classroom applications, how teachers are using AI to brainstorm lesson ideas, differentiate assignments, and save time on everyday tasks. We also discussed some important ethical considerations, including bias, hallucinations, and academic integrity. Understanding these limitations helps educators guide students in using AI responsibly. And finally, we looked at how schools can measure progress and build a culture of innovation so that AI becomes a thoughtful part of teaching rather than just another passing trend. But perhaps the most important takeaway is this. Using AI effectively isn't about mastering every tool. It's about developing the mindset to explore, experiment, and learn alongside your peers. Thank you so much for taking the time to explore AI in education. New technologies can sometimes feel overwhelming, but they also open the door to new creativity, new efficiencies, and new possibilities for learning. The most exciting part of this moment is that educators are still discovering what's possible. The ideas and experiments happening in classrooms today are shaping how these tools will be used in the future. If you're interested in continuing the journey, Voyager offers workshops and support designed to help educators go deeper, whether you're just starting to explore AI or beginning to lead innovation within your school. For now, we encourage you to stay curious, keep experimenting, and see what new possibilities emerge in your classroom. Thanks for being a part of the journey with us. And remember to never stop exploring.